It's 2 o'clock now, just after 2 o'clock, so we'll make a start. First of all, welcome to probably the first ever joint DIA, MCIA, DVSA webinar. Just a few rules, if I can, to start off with. In order for us to be able to manage it properly, what we'll do is we'll keep you muted unless you want to speak. If you want to speak, then we can, if you just click the little wave hand button on your screen, I will hopefully see that, and we can do that. Please just a little wave, and we'll try and do it in an orderly fashion. We're going to limit the time of the webinar to 1 hour. I will try and manage the questions and everything to make sure that we stay within that hour. Hopefully everybody will abide by the rules and join in constructively, because that's kind of what we're wanting to try and achieve, is a constructive session. But if somebody does start to not follow the rules, then I reserve the right to drop them off the call to make sure that we maintain the standards that we need to be doing. Just one other thing is that we are going to record this call so that it can be replayed at a later date. If you don't want to participate in that recording but just want to listen, please just turn your videos off, if that's okay with you. If not, we will see that it's all good. So that's it. So first of all, can I thank all the people involved in getting this webinar up and running at such short notice. We've had a lot of changes over the last couple of weeks, or last couple of days, I should say. And what I'm going to do is hand over to Mark and Chris and Mark McGee at the DVSA, primarily Mark Winn to lead what we want to do. We have had some questions pre-sent in to us. And we're going to hopefully try and answer those questions for you as we go through. Anything else you want to add to those rules, Mark? Are you happy with all that, Mark W?
That sounds spot on to me. Thank you very much, Mr. Jaffe. I think we'll have to be with Mark on this phone call, aren't there?
Yeah, too many Marks, yeah.
Okay, so here goes. Firstly, a huge thank you to everybody for joining the call. The first time that I know of that we've set up something like this, and I think it's great that we've got the two organisations coming together with DVSA to try and look at what we're doing here. Why have we done it? Because we're conscious that we've not necessarily been able to give you as much information when we wanted to about what's been going on, about restarting our services. But now that things are back up and running, hopefully this is an opportunity for us to share what our plans are, perhaps in a little more detail, to clarify some of the reasoning behind it, and then more importantly, to listen to what you have to say about it and answer some of the questions that you've got. So our approach throughout the lockdown is that we, as part of government, must follow government rules and guidelines on everybody staying safe through COVID. And that we need to follow those guidelines as we start our services back up again and go back to training and to testing. My thanks go to those who have been carried on delivering CBT training in particular to critical workers. We've also had some driving examiners still out there doing some critical worker bike tests. So thanks to them. We are now back up and running, and trainer booking has opened. My thanks to those people like Mark and Karen who have helped us develop the plans for restarting those services. I've been doing this a long time, and we've never, ever stopped our booking system before. We've never turned it off. And I think turning it off was the easy bit. It's a bit like, I don't know, pulling the plug out of the wall or just shutting the front door. Restarting it again has been a huge challenge and continues to be a challenge for a little while yet. So our approach has been that we wanted to start it up steadily at a manageable pace, not just to flood everything and turn it all straight back on again. Not only do we need to make sure that the plans that we've got which have been cleared and okayed, not only by government, but also by Public Health England and the Health and Safety Executive and folk like that, for not only looking after our own staff that we have a legal responsibility to do, but importantly for all of the candidates and instructors who work with us and who are our customers, to make sure it's safe for them to come back. So those plans needed to fit that mold and fit that explanation and fit those reasons. And we are as confident as we can be that those are the right plans. So in turning the trainer booking system back on again, our approach, as you should be aware, has been to turn on the opening day on a Monday and then a Wednesday, where we'll open a week's booking at a time, and we're asking you to only book through trainer booking until we get things back up and running and back up to pace. Once we get to a new steady state, we will take stock, we'll pause, we'll look at it to see whether it's working, both in terms of the right number of tests a day, because our examiners are working on a reduced schedule for 2 reasons. And also to make sure that it's working for the customers and that we've got all those things happening properly. The reason that we've got a reduced schedule is to allow for improved social distancing, so that we don't subject our staff to as much viral load. That is, the number of times a day that they interact with different people that might carry a risk with it. There's also a degree of reassurance in us getting 1,800 people back to work and wanting to do that in a safe way. We're confident that the measures are safe. We also need to give that kind of reassurance to staff and to customers that things are being done properly. When we get to the 6 weeks point, roughly around about that point there, we'll take stock and we'll decide whether we can increase the amount of tests that are available and change the work patterns, and then we'll go forwards from there. I'm pleased to say that the vast percentage of our examiners are fit enough and well enough and able to come back to work. There are some who are either in the particularly vulnerable group or who are caring for vulnerable people at home who are not able to come back to work, but the vast majority, particularly of bike examiners, are back at work. So that's kind of in our favour. We've developed a programme, so they're mixed programmes of Module 1s and Module 2s. We did look at how much pairing we could do. We couldn't formally pair the programme, the test slots, so that you bought 2 at a time. The booking system won't allow us to do that. We looked at whether we could have an even number of tests, because that makes pairing more straightforward. But our programs are based around 4 module 1s and 3 module 2s is what I want to say. Yeah. That's how that's scheduled. So there's an even number in there, which makes pairing quite a challenge. So that's how that process has been worked. As far as the difference between business booking and individual test and trainer booking, we'll just want to clarify, we only want you to trainer book tests until such point as we tell you otherwise, and that's likely to be around the point where we get back to a steady state. Business booked tests will go beyond the booking window, beyond the trainer booking window, and will be cancelled. Only need to trainer book them. That's probably the most difficult bit to get your head around to start with. The other stuff around, please remember to get your pupils to come along with an earpiece if that's compatible with ours. Really, really helpful. People that I've spoken to have all been great about that, and they're saying, yeah, that's no problem. We've got that. It's a 3.5mm jack plug, and it will be fantastic. We will have some earpieces, but if we run out of clean earpieces, we'll have to go back to other methods of delivering the test. So we're trying to avoid that. The more people that come along with their own earpiece ready, the easier it is for everyone. Some questions around face coverings have come up about when do they wear them. So first of all, it's face covering, and that can be a neck tube. That's the easiest way to do it because it's easy to slip up and down for a biker. They don't have to wear it whilst they're riding, particularly on Module 2, but when there's face-to-face contact, we would expect them to, unless they've got a medical reason for not doing so. The last bit for me before I pause for breath is just to let you know what's happening with the training slots. We are opening up training slots at motorcycle manoeuvring areas. They are being booked. They look as if they're being booked really actively from what I was looking at earlier. For this coming weekend, it will be quite a challenge for us to get the schedule from our deployment systems to the people that manage the site access managers, and from there out to all the different test centres where the SAMs, the site access managers, need that schedule. So for this coming weekend, we'd ask for your help in particular. The SAM might not have a schedule, so in which case we'll be reliant on the trainer to have some evidence that they've got a booking. And if the trainer hasn't got any evidence because it's not on their mobile phone, it's on someone else's device, then we'll look for people to play nicely and to reach mutual agreement. So if two schools turn up at the same time, we would ask for their cooperation for this weekend in particular, to making the whole thing work. And if we can avoid any difficult, challenging situations, that would be fantastic. It would also save me banning people from going back to the test centres afterwards. So that would be a bit of help to the SAMs there. That's it from me on where we are, how we've got there, some of the challenges. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. That's a good explanation. We've got a number of questions that have been already put through, and Karen's kindly put them into some form of order. And I will try and cover as many of those and ask you to respond to them if possible, and see what we've got to going forward. So one of the comments, and this come up quite regularly, is it's taken the DVSA far too long to come up with guidance since the pandemic. Is there anything that you can help to try and let people know why that was, why the communications was actually quite poor?
Mark McGee's just rubbed his eye. What I haven't done is worked out if that's a secret signal to say that he's to answer it or not. So, Mark, you put yourself
it wasn't, right. Yeah, it wasn't a secret. I just happened to be rubbing my eye, but obviously happy to answer that one. I think we acknowledge that communications have been quite difficult during the last couple of months. I think in terms of why that has been, I think it's just purely, one, probably unprecedented as to what happened, but two, in terms of obviously initially taking stock of what was happening. Obviously we needed approval to suspend services. Equally, we've needed approval throughout for any guidance that we wanted to publish or any communications that we had to make. And clearly we are one of the, although we are an agency of the department itself is much bigger cog in the wheel of the civil service. So obviously everything has to be orchestrated and cleared at all times, and that has delayed some of the comms. Obviously, in terms of the guide, I think the first thing that really came out was probably the letter from our Chief Executive, Gareth Llewellyn, to all trainers and instructors. Yes, I think I can say the content I think was welcomed, but obviously the timing could have been sooner. And again, for the reasons I've explained. And in terms of the guidance, obviously we have had to respond to what has come out from Government and Public Health England. We do not get advance notification of what is in guidance and what's going to be announced. We in effect hear it at the same time as you do. Then obviously we have to respond to that, work through the guidance, put instructions together. But what I would want to certainly put on record is obviously the thanks, as Mark said, to you both for the guidance that the industry put out themselves to traders. Obviously greatly appreciated, obviously on the back of our standard operating procedures, which were published and we've shared with you again. I think obviously lessons will be learnt from here, but obviously it has been challenging. And I think we're not the only people who have found it challenging within government.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the hurdles you guys have had to go through to get to all of that. Another question is there any way to extend theory tests to cater for the 3-month lockdown?
I think if I start off on this one, then obviously Mark might want to come in on the back of what I say, but the theory test extension, obviously potential extension has been acknowledged, and we have actually had a number of requests, particularly from MPs about it. Ministers are still considering it at the moment. Obviously, there are two options. In effect, one is no extension, and two would be a short extension. But obviously, that is with the minister at the moment. But I think Mark will confirm that quite earlier on in the discussions, we was also potentially looking at an extension to CBT certificates. But obviously, I think the motorcycle training industry made quite clear that wasn't what they thought was the right thing to do. So I think in the back of my mind, obviously we're waiting for the minister to come back, but might be a bit of why are we not treating the two the same? If we're not extending CBT, then why should we be extending theory test type questions? So again, sometimes it feels like we can't win, but obviously it's with the minister at the moment. We'll hopefully have some news maybe later this week or next week, but I wouldn't like to say what the decision is because it's a little bit unknown at this stage.
That's fantastic. And another question's been raised about theory test certificates. Why do we need to bring them to the test centres? Is that just not another piece of paper that could potentially cause us an issue? You can't book a test without a theory being there. Why does that need to come with you, especially for Module 2?
So it's one of those complicated rules that were a good idea at the time that we made it up. So our entitlement checking, where we link automatically through to DVLA's driver record and through to our systems that look at theory testing, can tell if someone's got the right licensing entitlement and if they hold a theory test. But what they can't do for motorcycle tests is to tell whether that theory test pass predates their Module 1 or not. So particularly when it comes to Module 2, we can say, yes, you've got a theory test, but we can't tell from our electronic systems whether that individual passed the test before or after their Module 1.
But the Module 1 certificate gives you the theory test certificate date on it.
So that could well be the sort of answer that means that we can relax it. We are looking to see whether we can relax it across the whole piece, across all of the different test types. Including the 1.8 or 1.6 million car tests that we do. Because it is, in this day and age, it is another piece of paper that people have got to remember to take with them. In looking at this, I've analysed we know how many tests didn't go ahead because of the right documents being presented at the time of the test. Overall, it's a few hundred, 600 or 800, something like that. So not that many. And that includes people that have got no driving license. And that includes car tests as well. That was over about a 6-month period. So when we drilled down and got even closer to it for car tests over the past few months, the number is coming down. So it seems to be that it's not a specific problem and that it's not proving a barrier to people, not making life awkward. We do, in this day and age, need to try and get to a position where we don't have to rely on pieces of paper, and it should be electronic, and that would be the ideal solution.
So this is maybe slightly off topic, but on the same sort of thing. What about the CBT certificates as well? Because now we're sending electronic returns in. Is there not a way that can also negate the need for a CBT certificate to go to test?
So good to mention the electronic returns on that. That's our first step in trying to move towards a position where more of our CBT transactions are electronic. At the moment, that's only looking at the returns. So instead of writing the return sheet out longhand and then posting it to us, for us to look at it and think that's good, and then posting it to DVLA, and then for them to then say, hang on a minute, I can't read 50% of these. We're moving towards an electronic return. We'll provide you with a spreadsheet in whatever format you want, and then you can email that to us, and it goes through far more quickly and onto DVLA. So it's much better, much quicker. At the moment, that doesn't have a link back to the examiner at the front line to be able to look up and see whether, make an electronic check on whether that individual has got a valid CBT. That's the end game. That's where we want to get to, but it's going to take us a while to get there yet. So please do, your returns electronically whenever you can. If you need help, then give us a shout, and we're going to do a tutorial and a how-to type stuff on how to fill it in. And we're happy to share that with you. But for the time being, you do need to continue bringing a Cbt certificate.
Mark, can I just come in there? Obviously, one of the positive developments that has happened over the last couple of months, you probably, obviously, Mark may know more than Karen, but obviously we have started to roll out the app for driving tests. So obviously digitisation, and obviously we'd already started rolling out car tests prior to lockdown. But during lockdown, we have actually rolled out to our examiners the app for both the Mod 1 and Mod 2 tests. So obviously things are starting to happen digitally more broadly around riding. And obviously, as Mark alluded to, we are looking at across the piece at the potential to move in almost to electronic pass certificates across the piece, although we do need legislation to do that. So there are quite a lot of things going on in the background. And we've taken the opportunity to move on with some of those during lockdown because we had examiners available to help obviously test the app before it rolled out to examiners.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you, Marks, both Marks. A couple of other questions that we've got around about test availability. There was a number of out-of-pocket expenses claims relating to tests cancelled at the start of lockdown. Can you confirm that you've been able to, or you are able to process those promptly? I suspect the question has been asked based on the fact that they've submitted out of it pocket expenses and it hasn't been acted on yet. Is there any way we can check where we're at with that?
So
go on, Mark, if you want to go first.
If the test has been cancelled for a COVID reason, then whilst we're happy to give a refund or a rebooking, we're not paying out of pocket expenses for tests that have been cancelled for COVID reasons. It's a bit like bad weather. It's completely out of our control. We're happy to give the person another test, but not pay out of pocket expenses.
So unlike bad weather, if we turn up at the test centre and it's bad weather and it's cancelled, totally understand that. But if we turn up in good faith to the test centre and the examiner cancels it for a COVID reason, are you saying that we won't be able to get out-of-pocket expenses for the DVSA cancelling it for a COVID reason, as opposed to the candidate saying, I'm now not well, I can't come in?
So in the same way that we won't be enforcing, if candidates are not able to attend for test because they're suffering from COVID, we'll allow them to cancel their test at short notice without losing their fee.
Okay. Will that test?
But we won't be we're not paying out-of-pocket expenses for tests that are cancelled for COVID reasons.
Okay, even if we've turned up and it's the DVSA that's cancelled it.
If it's COVID related, then we're not.
Okay, all right, lovely. Okay, that's thank you for that. We've already talked about that. There's been quite a few complaints about the way that the OBS has been opened up with only a week's notice, but I think you very succinctly explained some of the reasons behind that earlier on in your opening gambit, really. So I'm not going to go over those. But what about the call centre staff? Are they all back at work fully now? And will we have their full support if we need to ring them up? Because a lot of people have been trying to get hold of people over the last day or so, and the phones are just ringing and ringing, or they've been put on hold and just being forgotten about. So
our call centre staff, our customer service staff are working, but they are working remotely. It took us a while to get, it's called soft phones. So that is the ability to answer the phone using your laptop. So we're fortunate in that we deployed and equipped several hundred staff with laptops in the few months leading into the COVID and the pandemic, meaning everybody had to work from home. We're really fortunate. Part of the challenges that some other government departments have faced is because they don't have a mobile IT infrastructure that supports it. We were fortunate in that we just issued laptops to loads of folk. Instead of them having desktop PCs, and that's meant it's been easier to get things working. But we did have to get a solution to soft phones so that they've got a telephone to answer. That is now working. We've got the same number of call centre customer support staff now that we did have beforehand. So despite a massive increase in the traffic, we've still only got the same number of staff. So they are working flat out. They are doing all that they can. Nearly all of them are working, but it's going to be quite difficult to get through at times.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you, Mark, for that. Hope that answered the question from the person that submitted that. Another question is, as you go through increasing the number of tests, what are the chances of providing tests at the weekend, so that that we can try and get rid of some of our backlog and get back to some sort of normality? Is that going to be a possibility?
So additionally, the demand out of hours for bike tests seems to be quite limited. We don't do very many out of hours or weekend tests for motorcycles compared to when we do open them up for cars. We do some, but not loads. Whether that's because that's what you've all become accustomed to, or whether it's because you're all focusing on CBTs at weekends, I don't know. Maybe a bit of both. Maybe if we don't make it available, you can't book it. Could be the truth of it. So our operations colleagues will be watching the demand levels carefully to see what they are. They're ready to turn overtime on if they need it. Now, whether that additional testing gets turned on for car or for LGV or for bike, we'll wait and see what the demand is and whether we can cope with it.
So would it help if all ATBs were to put a request in using the request to the DVSA function on the online booking system, saying, can we have tests at the weekend? Would that assist your colleagues in deployment working out whether or not there is a need for it, and maybe take that away? Once you know that there's a need for it, then you could look at maybe opening it up. Is that something that you would like to see?
I don't think they describe it as helpful. It might have that effect. It would let us know that that was what people wanted. So there is an argument to say that that is the case. But I think that at the moment, of all of our teams that are particularly stressed and stretched, and I mean both of them, there are two teams. One is the deployment team, whose work are absolutely critical to opening and closing programs. They've had to rebuild the test schedules for 1,800 examiners, and that's involved moving nearly 250,000 tests that have to be moved, put on hold, and then rescheduled. And it's the same team that does that deals with all of us saying, I think I'd like a test on a Saturday. So my advice, my encouragement for the time being would be, let us concentrate on getting our usual service, the service that we normally provide. Let us focus on getting as close to that as we can without causing a lot of extra traffic or a lot of extra kind of white noise almost around the periphery to get everything else happening. It's a bit like, why have we got a limited program, which would be equivalent of, if it was a full day of module 2s, would be 5 instead of 7 tests? Because we want it to build steadily and carefully and be confident that it's working. And if we chuck too many extras in right at the beginning, we're far more likely to fall over and to trip up and to get things wrong. Let us get it back up to a steady state, take stock of where we are. So if you do need extra tests, put your requests in the normal way by clicking the request to DVSA button. At the moment, we have not turned on out of hours testing for bikes. Let us take stock of the resource before we do.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mark, for that question. I know you probably don't have any time scale for the return to training and testing in Scotland and Wales, because obviously the devolved governments need to announce that. But have you learned from this stuff so that when they do turn on, you can be ready for it?
You want me to kick off with that one, Mark? Obviously, we have been having weekly discussions with both, obviously, Transport for Scotland and the Welsh Government. The most recent ones were actually yesterday and today. So we are in close contact with them. We've shared with them, obviously, again, all of our processes and what we went through to enable us to resume in England. So they are cited. And obviously, we're in discussion around potential dates at the moment. Obviously, we don't have any firm news, but I think it's looking probably more hopeful that it might be in the next couple of weeks, sooner rather than later. But like I said, we've shared all the information with them. They know the procedures we had to go through. They know obviously all the communications that will need to go out. So obviously we want to make sure that it's done correctly. And we're ready to do it, as opposed to rushing it and then find that we haven't quite managed to do everything in time. So hopefully some news fairly soon. Obviously the announcement will obviously be made by Transport Scotland and the Welsh Government. We will then obviously follow in response to that soon after.
Brilliant, thank you, Mark, for that. Another question that we've got is, with the trainer booking service opening temporarily on Mondays and Wednesdays, how will ongoing ATB slot allocations be allocated? I think there's been some confusion certainly yesterday. And I think Karen from the MCIA help desk and we certainly from the DIA help desk have been inundated with people saying that they don't have the right allocations. Can you just explain how it's going to work going forward?
Yeah, so the starting point was that we would give an allocation to everyone who uses trainer booking based on their previous history. So that was the same time last year and what they did on the last normal-ish working day, and what they had back in March before lockdown, but also a look to see what happened at this time last year, 12 months ago.
Did that actually happen though, Mark? Because a lot of people are saying that it didn't happen about the 12 months ago bit.
So not in all cases, no, it didn't, and it fell over in some cases, and people were initially had an allocation of 0 tests, and then that was overridden manually to put 1 test on, which clearly, if you're used to getting 15 or 20 tests, is not really particularly helpful. It's certainly not enough tests. But I want to point at that is specifically on opening day only, and that beyond opening day, other tests will be are available to book. We have now back up on that process, well, we think we do. I think we've caught back up on it, and that the deployment teams have gone into each of the trainers to make sure that their allocation matches. If that's not the case, then let us know and we'll look into it and do something about it.
Okay, because hopefully I haven't checked the OBS for opening day for tomorrow, but I'd hope that maybe if everybody could check opening day that is right for them for tomorrow, to make sure that tomorrow kicks off ready for the 20th.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why we're holding back some resource. So we're deliberately holding back a bit of resource. We normally give a little bit back to cover short notice absence from our examiners. So we're holding back a bit of it, probably about 20% nationally, to try and allow for things that might go wrong, either from our end or examiners being taken ill, or for things like this that don't go according to plan. So our intention was there, it didn't quite get executed at some centres. So apologies, let us know, and if we've not already fixed it, we will do.
Okay, so
someone's trying to ask a question.
Sorry, who I'm not sure who is that talking actually. Was that somebody wanting to ask a question? If so, we didn't hear it. Okay, don't know what happened there. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's move on, and then one of
Mark,
yeah.
Mark, it's Robin Sheard.
Hello, Robin.
Hello. For Mark Winn, just a follow-up on the booking system and allocations, and I think it's a point of clarification, really. As tests are being phased in the period before the review, and accepting that availability will be limited on opening day, if there are short-term, short notice cancellations or from the ATB necessitated out of COVID or other reasons, how will that affect the ongoing percentage calculation of the ATB's performance of the system? In other words, will I be detrimentally impacted during the period for necessarily perhaps unavoidable short-term cancellation, short notice cancellations?
No, you won't be. As far as trainer booking monitoring is concerned, we'll be as we possibly can. We won't be going after people and criticising them if they've had to cancel tests for COVID reasons. Now, having said that, clearly, if the industry norm is sitting at somewhere around, I don't know, I'm just making a number up, but somewhere around 20-25%, and Cynical School of Motorcycling is busy cancelling 60%, then I will speak to them. I will change behaviour, and if I don't get it, they can go and sit on a park bench for a couple of weeks whilst they work it out. So we will we will be as lenient as we can be, providing people are not clearly abusing the system.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Right, another question that we've had from one ATB is that they train a book in Gwent, although they use Gloucester as well. Now, obviously, Gwent is shut, but Gloucester is open. Is there any way that they can get their allocation from Gwent transferred to Gloucester so they can book tests on the opening day?
So their trainer booking allocation is per test centre, not
correct,
per ATB. So there isn't a way of swapping that from one test centre to another. Now, having said that, if there's a real specific concern and they need some help at Gloucester, then I'm happy to look at it. But then if we move, it's a bit like your no claims bonus. You can only have one no claims bonus, and if you take it out on a second car, you're then gonna, your insurance on the other car will be dearer. So if we move their Gwent train booking limit to Gloucester, they won't have one comes back to testing there. So
okay.
Your trainer booking limit has been worked out. If you think we've got it wrong, or if you find yourself in a really unusual situation, like you might be based in Wales but do all your tests in Shrewsbury, for example, just across the border, let us know and we'll see if we can help if there's a particular need.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Another question is, are motorcycle tests being prioritised for learners who had tests cancelled before COVID, or is it just on a first time, first served basis?
So there are two groups of candidates as far as three groups of candidates as far as motorcycle tests are concerned. The first group is the smallest and the easiest to deal with. So that is critical workers from amongst the NHS service. And they will be prioritised and looked after first, as we've been doing all the way along. The other group are, and this is the significant majority, these are trainer booked candidates who the trainer booked as part of a bulk booking. Those test slots have been cancelled and the fees have been refunded to the trainer bookers. So trainer booked test has been cancelled and refunded to the trainer booker. An individually booked test made for a specific individual, if that's still within the period that we're working to, time-wise, so between now and... Sorry, it's a bit distracting with that extra noise going on.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out, I don't know who it is. I think it might be Margaret Mitchell that's still got her speaker on, and I don't seem to be able to mute her.
Not
so
sure.
If Margaret, you could just mute your session, please. I would appreciate it.
Seems to be better now. So individual bookings, and they might have been private candidate who've booked their own tests, for example. Those slots, those candidates will have been placed on hold. They will be invited to come back into the booking system as a private individual to rebook their tests. That will happen after about the third week of July.
I've got a question here from Steve Manning about he can't talk, unfortunately, but he's typed one into chat. It's just about that topic. So in March, they had 6 weeks worth of tests booked and paid for and named. They were then all cancelled rather than postponed. And he's asking why he can't use the business booking to book their loyal customers who've been waiting patiently. Why can they not book them in first? That's Steve's question. So,
sorry that you can't join us verbally, Steve, but pleased that you're still with us and firing the questions away. We have, as part of starting the system, we've never stopped this machine before. We've never stopped ours, and starting it up is a real challenge. And trying to start it up in a fair way, we've decided that we will use trainer booking to make sure that we give an allocation to people, and that we can open those booking windows in stages as it goes along to make it as fair as possible. The alternative was that we just lit the blue touch paper and stepped back, and then it would have been unfair on a lot of the smaller firms and a lot of the people who were perhaps in more remote areas who couldn't get on and didn't have such good connectivity, if we'd have just allowed a complete free-for-all. By making sure that we stay within the trainer booking envelope, it means that we can increase the bookings in stages and in phases so that it's fairer for everybody. It also means that the bookings don't get too far ahead, because at the point where we move from an equivalent of 5 out of 7 tests, at some stage in the future, we'll look to move back to 6 out of 7 tests and then 7 out of 7 tests. So we'll increase the percentage of working at some stage in the future. When we do that, any test bookings will be at a different time. So we'll have to cancel all those tests and rebook them all. And we don't want to have to do that because we've done it far too often already. So we are managing this by using a trainer booking, and we're saying, please do not use business booking until we tell you to. We know it's not perfect. We know it's not exactly the ideal solution, particularly for people like Steve, who maybe have got those individual candidates already lined up. But please allocate them a test out of your trainer booking bunch of tests and allow us to get up and back up to a steady state. Once we've got there, and as soon as we can, we'll let you know that business booking is turned back on and you can use that to book an individual test. We've had people, for example, booking tests for the week commencing the 18th of December. Now, if anyone on this call can tell me what's happening as far as COVID is concerned on the 18th of December, please make contact with me with your CV so that we can give you a job in our demand forecasting team.
Lovely, thank you for that, and hopefully, Steve, that has answered your question there. Could you just explain the ruling around test centres and when we can arrive and what facilities will be available, just to make sure everybody is clear on what we can do at test centres, please, Mark, or Mark or Chris.
Yes, so we have 1,800 staff at about 463 test centres. That's for across all different types of testing. As far as bike test centres are concerned, it's 65-ish, something like that, module 1s, and 120, I want to say, module 2s, something of that order. We need to make sure that all of those buildings are safe for our staff and our customers to use. So they all need to have the right social distancing measures in place to make sure that people can get in and out of the building safely. We need to make sure that all the fire alarm services, the water services and all the rest of it have been checked and are safe to use. The guy that's looking after the Legionella testing that has to go on has said the last thing that we need to do is get everybody out and catching Legionnaire's disease instead of catching COVID. So we have a legal responsibility to make sure that those test centres are ready and safe for everybody to use. In a significant number of cases, they are up and running. The staff have got the right PPE on the way, either there already or on the way for car testing that takes place later on, or they're well on the way to it. In some cases, there are a number of test centres that are not yet ready for one reason or another. It might be because they've not passed their fire test or their water test. It might be because we've not got enough PPE delivered there yet. For a number of reasons, not all test centres are back up and running yet. we're doing everything we can to make sure that they are back up and running as soon as possible, particularly where it's for motorcycle and testing, because that's opened up at the same time as us. So we're trying to get those centres back up and running as fast as we can. Part of our plans to open the test centres and to keep the social distancing means that we have to keep the waiting rooms and the toilets closed to everybody, other than people with specific medical needs, or if there are pregnant ladies there, or some additional medical need like that. If we thought long and hard about this issue over waiting rooms and the toilet facilities that go hand in hand with them, because we don't really want to have to shut them down. But the alternative was that we wouldn't have been able to open the buildings safely if we then had a busy centre, several hundred people going in and out of the building all day, every day, using the facilities. So the safest thing for us to do was to say, okay, you need to wait outside for your test, wait in an obvious place, wait where you normally start your test, particularly for bike tests, wherever you park them. If the instructors could use a little bit of common sense and make sure, when you turn up at a bike test centre, I like it because normally you get to stand around with a load of blokes and ladies who want to talk about bikes and, you know, have you got this one, have you got that one, where'd you get that jacket from, and all the rest of it that goes on. And it's part of the buzz and the crack that goes with it. What we're saying now is please stand in separate groups, please think about your social distancing. And if the local staff say, can we have some people waiting on that side and some people waiting on this side, let's go along with that to make it work. So hopefully it will be okay. And at some point we'll be able to move on once we've taken stock of it.
Mark, can I just take the opportunity to propose two things in terms of obviously in advance of the day, you spoke earlier about obviously face coverings, and obviously it is a requirement for the candidate to wear one, but obviously if that's not possible for medical or other reasons, it is important it's flagged up to us on a booking. And I know obviously, Mark, we need to identify how that works on the trainer booking facility, but obviously that is quite important to get that message across that we will need candidates to wear a face covering unless we are told in advance. And secondly, in terms of the timing in which they turn up, I think the advice is that they turn up sort of 5 minutes before their test rather than sort of too early, on the basis that we don't want too many people obviously gathering in groups, as you said, and being sensible on the day.
I'm trying to think of a way using online booking and naming a booking that we could actually alert the fact that they have a medical reason, but I can't actually think of one. I guess it's going to have to be a phone call to the to either deployment or to the call centre to make a note.
Possibly, we're looking at different solutions. Whether you could use the additional needs, special needs bit to tell us. Not sure how that works on trainer booking. As a last resort, until we announce a better solution, if you do know of anybody, I think on a motorcycle test, it's likely to be fairly unlikely. It's going to be fairly unlikely.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Not impossible, and we do need to respect that some people may not be able to, but I think if you can wear a motorcycle helmet, you're quite likely to be able to wear a face covering, at least whilst in that short period. If not, let the local test centre know. Just tell us somehow, but please don't just turn up on spec hoping it will be okay, because not all examiners are able to work in close proximity to people who are not wearing a face covering.
Okay, thank you very much, Ro. We've got 10 minutes left
Hang on, Mark,
now.
There's two more questions on chat, if I can just get them
Yeah,
out.
You're doing a cracking job there, Karen. Keep going on the
I'm just sitting here checking.
I've got 7 in this box down here. What does that mean?
Caroline has posted, she just wants clarification. She lets her pupils book their own tests and they're all waiting to receive their emails to rebook. Should she just go ahead and book for them to get them ahead?
If that is, should she go ahead and book through trainer booking, if she's got that facility, I would say in the short term, that's probably a good way of approaching it. as we go back, as time marches on, we'll get closer to being at a steady state and closer to being back to where we were normally. Then whatever business model works for you will be the right way. If they apply as an individual, those individual bookings for new customers are not opening for a couple of weeks yet. So we've opened trainer booking up because it's where 95% of our bike and LGV tests are booked through, and we know that the trainers that we work with can manage those bookings quite closely and quite carefully. So in the short term, my advice would be to run with trainer booking. If you need some specific help, then contact me or Chris after the call.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
One more then. At start of lockdown, we were told that tests cancelled between the 18th and the 25th of March were eligible for out-of-pocket expenses. In addition, Pearson's had 3 aborted attempts at restarting. These were not COVID-related cancellations, but were rather down to ineptness.
As far as I know, Mark, I thought that anybody who had submitted a claim for out-of-pocket had been contacted by a contact centre or whatever. So as far as I know, that has happened. They should have been advised that we were not actually paying for COVID-related stuff. I'd need to check the dates on that, because obviously some of those were a day or two before we sort of formally locked down, suspended testing. But everyone should have been contacted with an update. I'm not quite sure what the Pearson's point is there when we said that they had 3 aborted. Yes, we were cancelling theory tests up to certain dates on the anticipation that it might have been able to resume services sooner than what we did. So obviously it is still COVID related on the basis that we didn't have all of the approvals to resume theory test services. So I think the argument from my initial perspective would be that it was COVID related, although obviously I appreciate, again, as part of the comms, if we had known and had that crystal ball, and as Mark says, if we knew what was going to be happening in December, we may have made the decision to cancel all tests in one go for longer, but obviously it wasn't the way that we got the approvals. So again, it was all wrapped up in that comms, I'm afraid.
That's it.
Okay, good stuff. Right, have we got any? We've got about 8 minutes left. Have we got any people that want to flag up some questions while we've got the opportunity of 3 of the top guys? Rob.
Can you unmute him, Mark?
Yeah, I'm just doing that. Right, sorry, Rob. Could you just start again, please? It took me a while to unmute you.
With the car tests, I found it's easier. I've got some correctly fitting seat covers for the car, and I find it easier to sanitize the seats with those properly fitting seat covers on than the cloth seats in between driving and lessons and so on. Would these need to be removed for a test? They're correctly fitted ones, they're not beads or anything like that, and they'll be sanitized after I get out of the passenger seat before the examiner gets in and so on at the test centre. But would they need to be removed at the test centre on extra pressure or time?
They shouldn't need to be. So what we're saying to folk and to the ADI community in particular is please make sure that your vehicle's clean and it's been recently cleaned. If it's obviously not clean, and I'm not going to describe what obviously not clean looks like or smells like, but if it's obviously not clean, then the test won't go ahead.
And I'm guessing that's similar to bikes, because if it's obviously not clean bike, the same thing would apply, Mark?
Not quite as much, because we don't sit on the candidate's bike, whereas in the ADI world, we do sit in the ADI's car.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sticking to the rule, to the letter of the law, with everything. Being really picky about it, and I thought that was a better way to keep the cloth seat sanitized for every movement than it is.
Are you being asked to remove your nice clean seat cover?
No, haven't done yet. I didn't want to arrive and cause problems, if it was going to be recommended.
So it's kind of new territory for all of us, including our frontline driving equipment, because we've not been faced with this situation before. We've provided some guidance to everybody, and we are making seat coverings available to our staff. most of them, from what I'm picking up, seem to be okay with that. And others are saying, well, hang on a minute, I'd rather not sit on one. It's a bit hot and sweaty because it's plastic and it's cheap and this, that, the other. So, and then some of the, particularly in the LGV world, some of the planners are saying, I've got seat covers that I'm fitting up the same as the mechanics use, and we think this is a good idea because it helps keep the vehicle clean. So it is all about, let's work together, use our common sense. So I would say, yeah, please do carry on making sure it's as clean as you can. Yes, by all means, put a seat cover on it. If the examiner at the time says, I'd rather not sit on that, thank you, just go with the flow. It should be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's lovely. Thank you, Rob, for that. Right.
Problem, then talk to the local test centre manager. Okay.
Any more questions from anybody that wants to chip in with anything that they've seen? They've heard about?
Steve's got another one on the chat.
Yeah.
When we moved over from telephone only to OBS, this was meant to stop duplicate accounts to circumvent the system. Why are we allowing multiple devices access to the same account now, please? It means you can have multiple people all booking Mod 1s, Mod 2s and MMAs, getting the best slots.
So as far as I know, and I can't say that this is completely correct, but to the best of my knowledge, you can access on more than one device. I mean, that might be 2 laptops, but it is one booking account. So the limit is the booking account, not the device, but I'm not completely sure. Probably need to look into that a little bit more. So if whoever's done that can, Mark, we can pick up on that one and find out about it. I'm happy to take that away and look at it. It's a balance between ensuring that people have reasonable access and that, you know, if larger businesses have more tests and more transactions to do, then that's fine, providing there isn't undue advantage. And if people are abusing the system, then we'll let them know and ask them to stop.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for that, Mark and Karen. Anybody else has got any other questions that they want to ask? If you do, just unmute yourself and then you can ask away.
Hi, Mark. Just another question, really, I suppose, in terms of COVID. If it's necessary for local lockdown, how will comms be handled? And what about rebooking tests? Would candidates be given preferential treatment or priority treatment to the nearest alternative centre?
So we get to find out about lockdown in Leicester at the same time as everybody else, so we don't get any advance notice on it. We then need to develop a plan to help keep everybody safe and to follow the rules on that lockdown. So we can obviously contact people who we know have a booking. We can, through Gov Notify and DVSA Direct, notify trainers and business bookers in that area. So we can do it if you've got, providing we've got the information, we can do it by postcode. So if you've got a Leicester postcode, for example. If you happen to have a Birmingham postcode, but you're working in Leicester, then it becomes more challenging for us, obviously. So where we've got the information and where we know about you, we will tell you, and we can make local announcements on that basis. Not a perfect system, but it's quite good actually, it's quite impressive what it can do.
Yeah, so in terms of Leicester, we was obviously in the position that we had announced resumption of services, but they hadn't actually resumed, so it was slightly easier that we had to stop the non-essential work from going ahead. But obviously, if it happens again in the future once we've resumed, then obviously that might be a slightly different challenge. But as Mark said, we can communicate locally to people, and that's what we'll aim to do. But obviously what we're doing at the moment is working through our process as to how we will handle it. I think the part of the question there was whether or not those candidates who had a test book would be given priority elsewhere. It will probably have to come down to what availability there is elsewhere because we won't know necessarily. We might pick it up in the media, like you might, that another area is facing lockdown. But like I said, we will be, obviously we'll perhaps work on that, we'll have a process in place, but we can only actually put it into place once we have confirmation of that lockdown, and we know on what basis the lockdown has been implemented as to what can and what cannot go ahead in terms of work and service.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll do our best to be proactive, but it's going to be quite challenging.
Indeed. So we're working in strange times, and it's just working through a pragmatic approach to being fair all round, I suppose. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Robin. Right, anybody else? Because we're now at the hour. If nobody else has got any burning questions, Mike, you nodding your head there, so you're all right. Nobody else got any questions? If you haven't, it's all it needs to me is thank Mark, Chris, Karen, and everybody else that's been involved in getting this unique webinar up and running very quickly. And we hope that it has helped and assisted some of the frustrations I know the DVSA have had over the last 3 months. And hope that some form of explaining the way that it's going forward. So thank you all very much indeed for attending. If anybody wants a recording of this, it will be available on the DIA website, and we'll share it on the MCIA RIDE website as well later on, so you can look back and see what we've said. So thank you very much indeed for everybody, and wish you all a good afternoon.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Mark. Thanks, Chris.
Cheers.